Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be making my favorite fall pasta. Okay, so it is officially fall. As of today, it is October 28th, and I'm pretending it's fall, even though it's 90 degrees where I live. So I'm in my comfy clothes, got my comfy pants on, and I'm ready to make some delicious fall pasta. Today we have a cooking assistant. We have our Halloween cooking assistant, and his name is Alfred. Say hi, Alfred. Yeah, so Linguini has Ratatouille and I have Alfred. So I am going to get started. I will show you the ingredients for our pasta and let's get cooking. But first I went to Trader Joe's and I got delicata squash. I saw somebody on TikTok cooking with these and they looked really delicious and I had never tried them before. And when I cooked with them the first time, they get really nice and mushy. You can season them with kind of whatever you want. I use some like cinnamon and just some salt, really simple. And it's a really good squash. So you can get a big one, just one big one. I got two small ones because that's what they had. Next up, we have, I think, my favorite bit of produce that's in season in the fall, which is heirloom tomatoes. You see this big guy right here, and then we got this tiny guy right here. Heirloom tomatoes are some of my favorites. Tomatoes in general is like one of my favorite bits of produce. And I love these because they often are like so fresh, organic. They're only grown in certain times of year, or at least like where I am, they're only in grocery stores during the fall time. If you can't find any in the store, just get regular cherry tomatoes. But if you can find these, they're really good to cook with because they're big, they carry a lot of flavor, really juicy, and they cook down really nicely. So got some heirloom tomatoes, got two. If you're getting cherry tomatoes, just cook a whole pack of them. Next up, from my dairy-free and gluten-free brands video, I am using my ricotta, which I said I only use for special dishes, and this is definitely one of them. This is definitely kind of you could say like the hero ingredient of the dish. Ties it all together, so we have ricotta. And next up, we have some garlic. I have minced garlic. If you have fresh garlic, that's just as fine too. You can cook them down, but in my house we always have a big thing of minced garlic because it's just easiest to use, so we have some of that. And another good Trader Joe's find, my pasta of choice today is the brown rice spaghetti pasta, and I love brown rice pasta. I mentioned this in the last video that kind of when I'm looking for a gluten-free pasta, I check to see if it has any rice in it because that usually means it's going to be good. So got that from Trader Joe's. Next, just to put in your pan, any type of olive oil is good, and you can use as much or as little as you want. And for seasonings today, we're keeping it pretty simple with what goes into the pasta. Like I said, I will season my squash with cinnamon, but for actually like what is going into the pasta, we have herbes de Provence, which if you don't know what herbes de Provence is, it is a blend of a bunch of different seasonings. And this one is specifically thyme, savory rosemary, basil, sage, and lavender. And I bought this at Trader Joe's, and it's like nice and aromatic. With the fall pasta, it just like melts with the tomatoes so nicely, and I love it. And then your classic salt and pepper, because salt and pepper is what makes everything good. So that is what I have for today's ingredients. Okay, so the first step in this recipe is to prepare your squash. So I preheated my oven to 400 degrees because that's the temperature that you're gonna bake your squashes at. And I like to pre-cut my squash for this recipe, one, because it helps it cook faster, and two, I can just throw it right into the pasta as soon as it comes out of the oven. All right, so the oven has just reached 400 degrees, so the squash is ready to go in. As you can see, I diced them up into little slices. With this squash, which is nice, you can leave the skin on. It's kind of just like a texture preference, but I decided to leave the skin on, so that I've diced them up. They're hollowed out, so all that's left to do, I'm gonna take some spray olive oil just to kind of make sure it doesn't stick and it gets nice and crispy. I am going to salt my squash. And then I'm going to just sprinkle cinnamon all over it. And then once you have the cinnamon on, just kind of rub the other sides in there so it can pick up what's on the bottom. So that way it's nice and evenly coated. And once that is done, we can stick it in the oven. Okay, so the squash is in and cooking. It already smells delicious in the house, smells like cinnamon. I just put water on to boil for the pasta, and once that's boiling, I will throw that in. And while we're waiting for all of that, I am going to chop up our tomatoes. Okay, so now that the tomatoes have softened, I'm gonna throw in our pasta and our squash. So we have the brown rice pasta here, all nice and cooked. I'm going to throw a little bit more olive oil over the noodles just because as they cool down, they tend to stick together. So just to throw a little bit more in there so move the noodles around and get them separated again. And then once you have that, gonna stir it up, get it all mixed. I like to mix as I go so that the flavors really distribute evenly. And now that that is all mixed together, it's time to throw in our squash. Okay, so I had about I don't know, a little less than half of that ricotta container left. So I threw in the rest of that half. And with this, a little bit goes a long way. It's a big thing of pasta, but the ricotta is so thick that it spreads apart really nicely and you end up getting more than you thought you had. So now it's all mixed together, and the final step is to just kind of let it simmer, let all the flavors mush together for a little bit, and going to season one more time with all 3 of my seasonings. A little bit more of the herbs now that the pasta and everything else is in there. Not a full scoop, just a little pinch because it is pretty fragrant. And gonna give that a final stir before letting it sit for a bit and then serving. The pasta has simmered, the cheese is melted in, all the flavors are ready to go, and I have served myself a delicious bowl of creamy fall pasta. Only 3 made ingredients, really easy, makes your house smell delicious. And it's just the perfect cozy bowl of food for fall time. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.